right, Mathletes, thank you for tuning in. And I got a special guest, like I always do. So, a great friend here that I'm very privileged. So, remember, these folks that I bring on for you, these are people that someone's always watching. And what I do is I try to bring people around me that I really feel are like family, whether they know it or not. Um, so what do I mean by that? So Jordan here, he used to coach. We used to coach on a flag football team. We had different areas, right? So in life, you have a great team where everyone has their specialty. And my daughter was on this team. And with my daughter, I'm always looking right with my family to bring them like the best and to trust, to earn that trust. And this is what Jordan has done tremendously is earned my trust. And that's the highest thing you could do for somebody. And in watching him, I have seen so many things. And when I watch people, one thing I'm always looking at is character. And what are they doing to help someone else out? And that's the highest thing in my value system is what are they doing to serve? So that's some of the main reasons. I didn't tell you that.
Yeah,
That,
that's news to me.
but that I bring you on to share because I bring above all like quality because these are people that I really want to add value to. So I'm gonna pick his brain, and I really want you to listen because there's gonna be things that I learn, and I also always do this for a selfish reason because my goal is to never stop growing and to never uh, think that I've arrived somewhere. And so all this is so motivating, inspirational, and a learning experience, and it continues to fuel that passion that I have. So, Jordan, give us a little. I'm gonna ask you lots of questions,
Yeah.
but like if I were to ask you, like, what is it that you're some highlights that are going on right now in your life, and then we'll start with the highlights. Maybe we'll start with career because the audience a lot is they're either gonna be helping someone in their career or they're gonna be trying to get somewhere. They have some type of goal or dream. So what are some kind of cool things that are happening right now? And then tell me a little bit about how you got there. So I'll let you talk.
Well, thank you. First off, I appreciate the kind words. I was super surprised by all that, so thank you. Yeah, I guess the most obvious current highlight is I just got hired at Stanford University as the Olympic Performance Coach for men's soccer, men's gymnastics, who just won the NCAA championship. And anytime a team you're with wins championship, you get a ring. So I joined a little too late, but hopefully next year got some hardware there. And then women's tennis. So I'll be full-time over there. And something about how I got there, which I think you kind of were already alluding to, is the removal of ego or the removal of I've arrived somewhere, right? So in order to get that position, bear in mind I've been a strength coach for 4.5 years. Well, I've been a coach for 4.5 years, strength coach for about 1.5 years. And I took an internship at Stanford and it was unpaid. And, the other thing is in the area, in terms of knowledge and sports performance and training and things of that sort, I am one of the, I would say higher educated individuals. And going there, I knew I was putting myself in a place where I'm by far the dumbest individual. Like everybody knows more than me and all that stuff. So that can be a very uncomfortable situation to go from the big fish in the small pond to guppy fish in the ocean. But man, the amount of growth that I experienced just in those first 4 months of that internship. And again, that's unpaid. So I'm going there, driving over Highway 17 at 5 a.m. To get there and start working at 6. And then I'm there until 2-3 p.m. And then I go to my master's program and finish out. And then I'm coming home from San Jose at like 10 p.m. So it was a lot of sacrifice and it was well worth it. They asked me to come back. So here's the other thing about, how you get to places like that is just diligence. I already wanted to go back from the standpoint of I looked back in December at how far I had come from August. And I was like, wow, I learned so much. And yes, I didn't get paid anything in this time, but I got paid in knowledge and experience. And, that wasn't somewhere I was going to get anywhere else. So they asked me to come back. I happily was going to do that. And then just being, in that right position in January, somebody ended up leaving back to another country for a family thing. And they had a hole to fill, and they were like, well, this guy's here and he's been doing a good job, so we're gonna put him in this role. So I got a part-time role, working with men's soccer only. And again, removal from egos, minimum wage. Everybody else makes, plenty more than minimum wage and things of that sort. And you're kind of the grunt. Like, not only was I men's soccer, but I was just meant to plug any holes. If somebody was out on vacation or traveling with another team, I had to go fill in for their team. So I don't have real duties other than like do the dirty work for everybody else. But again, you get your foot in the door and you grow and show humility. And then a role popped up for a full-time one, and it definitely wasn't handed to me. There was 103 applicants. I applied like everybody else. I did all the baseline interviews. You have to go. Once you get to the top 10, there's like a Zoom gauntlet that you go through where you're on the panel with all the strength coaches, and they just hammer you with questions, and you got to explain your philosophy and things of that sort. And then I made it to top 3. I don't know who the other 2 coaches are, but they flew them out, like they're from out. So it's very nerve-wracking. And then I had my turn where I'm there. You tour, you meet all the staff and from all different departments, and just have conversations. At the end of that, they all cumulatively get together and provide feedback about everybody they interacted with and what they think. And then from there, they come up with a decision. So I was very honored and blessed to get it. And so, I begin that next month, and should be a good time. So sorry for the mouthful.
No, this is perfect, because this is what our audience needs to hear, because there's so much. So let's think about this. You're gonna have people, and I don't care what position you're in. It could be admin, it could be instructor, it could be a student. But one thing along my career that I always got were those folks that said kind of to do the minimum, right? And when you do the minimum, that's what you're going to get, the minimum out of yourself. And then when I look at those folks, I see a lot of unhappiness. I see a lot of I didn't get to where I wanted to be. And so you got to be careful of the seeds that you're planting. And so what I really listened to as Jordan spoke is, think about this. He's sacrificing, and yes, it's a sacrifice because he has other things he has to take care of. Money, right? Because listen to that, making minimum wage. And right away, that's going to take away so many people, because for them to humble themselves to say take whatever pay value that they're offering, in this case minimum wage, they're already shooting themselves in the foot because they have the wrong perspective. And the wrong perspective is that this is an amazing opportunity, because whenever you're in a room full, in this case Stanford, right, just imagine that wealth of knowledge. And he said himself in terms of how much he gained. And so much of what's so important is how to get yourself in that room with people. Because in probability, what he did is he made it a little bit unfair for himself in a good way. Because I promise you, when you're sitting in these rooms, and I've been in these rooms, right, where they're making some very important decisions, and if they already know Jordan here and seen him, what our brains don't allow us to do, as much as we want it, is our brains don't allow us to be fair. Science has shown this. And so by him putting himself in this room, in these opportunities, and asking all these questions, he's making connections that biology has shown we cannot undo. So whether he did it on purpose or not, right, he made all these crazy connections that I promise you, behind the scenes, when they're making those decisions, people are talking about the amazing person that I know. And so for him to get in there and engage, he already has such a crazy advantage, because he allowed people to see his amazingness. And the amazingness is not like the amazingness that sometimes we'll be blinded by. the amazingness comes from who he is, not who he has to pretend to be. So him asking these questions and like he said, really being coming from a learner standpoint, like I know nothing really compared to let me learn. And what's sad is, when I travel and I talk to these people, it's always the great leaders, and I ask their team, like, what makes them a great leader? It's that attitude of learning and serving and not knowing everything. And so that's another thing I really love about Jordan. So for those of you taking notes, um, please really highlight that. So um, you remind me a lot, and you kind of look like, I think I told you. His name's Juan Carlos. He's the catcher of the Yankees. I got to talk to last month or 2 months ago, and this guy before he got picked up by the Yankees, he was Ubering, substitute teaching, talking about the crazy sacrifices, right, that him and his wife are making, um, and people, those are sacrifices people don't want to make, and those are the seeds that you have to plant before you reap your harvest. And so tell me a little bit about the things you were doing before this opportunity even came up, that you would say really helped put you in that position. How the heck did you even get to know about the internship at Stanford? Who were the people that kind of helped develop you? Anything that you could share.
Yeah. So coming out of my bachelor's at CSUMB with exercise science, and then getting the strength conditioning credential, I immediately wanted to get experience there, and so went to Wassamo High and started working with some of the teams there, and that was a very positive experience, and just really trying to get, because the one I guess disadvantage I had was coming from a smaller school with no internship opportunities. I had this credential of this title, but no experience in that role. And so the next thing was, okay, I need to get experience in that role however I can. So the alma mater was a fantastic opportunity and felt very rewarding, and I wanted to go back and do that. So that was awesome. And outside of that, what I started to see is anytime I was looking elsewhere, I didn't even realize that until right now. There was a job posting at Stanford that I looked at, and I, looked at all the minimum requirements and was far from any of them other than the degree. And yeah, so I was like, okay, I have a lot of ground to cover here. So I think, again, under the aspect of planning your harvest and things of that sort, not being afraid. I think a lot of people, and I've especially seen this in Instagram and stuff like that, with talking about maximizing profit and making money and things of that sort. People are always looking for the output, not the input, and not concerned about the investment. How are you actually worthy of generating this, income or whatever it is you're out looking for? So, I understand that also there's a barrier of entry there with saving up for stuff like that, but fortunately, San Jose State had a master's program, and I saw, the internship opportunities that were potentially there, and knew that was what I needed to do next. And also, I think that's where passion comes into play. Yeah. It's easier to pay for things or to look to dive deeper into things when you really have a true desire to learn more about it. And so for me, sports science, exercise science, that is that. If I wasn't going to school for it, I would still be finding time in the day to read about it somehow. So might as well, get something out of it. So I applied for my master's in exercise physiology. And in my first semester there, they started spitting out internship opportunities. And so Stanford was not the first one. Again, I had minimal experience. So I applied to San Jose Earthquakes, and then a football program somewhere, and just never got even the call back. Step one is the call back, and they sift through all these applications. And so if you don't get a call back, then, yours was for sure in the trash on the first go around. So that's okay. It's also the aspect of continuing and not expecting things to always go the way you want them, right? There's going to be some resistance along the path. And so fortunately, that's a pretty easy thing to overcome. You just continue going. It's not like they, said something mean to me or whatever. So, it's just a matter of continuing applying. So then I applied to Stanford. I got a call back. That's the first conversation that was had. like a 30-minute conversation, and then that's what got the ball rolling. Then I had a Zoom interview for that, then it went well, and then began the internship. And go ahead.
So sorry, if was this your first semester that you applied for that Stanford?
First semester is when I applied for 2 other and got shot down. Because they'll be like fall internships and spring internships.
Okay.
So for the fall one, I kind of had lost my chance of taking anything after missing those 2. So then in the spring, reapplied for the Stanford internship. So in my second semester, yeah.
Okay, and the reason I ask is again, you have to shoot your shots. You see it all the time, you hear it all the time, but there's a difference in hearing something, right? Because imagine how many things you listen to on Instagram or whatever, these great ideas, but how many things do we act upon? And when someone rejects you, how many times do you continue, right, following and pursuing? And what people will do, and I don't know, I'm gonna pick your brain later on this, but if I were to see like say a Stanford, I'm in your position, I see a Stanford internship in my head, and we're gonna talk about this, is like, oh wait, I got rejected from these other 2. I'm not even gonna try to apply for that one. And so notice how, right, and it's all these little things I want people to pick up on, is he continued to apply. And so like, where did that even come from? Because as you're applying, what are some like negative things that might be going through? Because we're human, so these things do pop up. How'd you overcome it?
I mean, honestly, I don't let it sit that long. The phrase 99 no's aren't as powerful as 1 yes kind of comes into mind, or the Rocky, it's not about how many times you fall down, it's how you get back up, right? All that stuff. So I mean, there's an initial disappointment. Obviously, I wouldn't, like you're saying, we're all human, so it's a bummer. And it's also a little bit of a nice humility check of like, wow, I think I'm so cool, and look, I couldn't even get a call back. I just threw my thing in the trash. But I'm also I don't know if we cover the topic of religion on this podcast, but
good.
You know, I'm very faith-based, and I believe in God's plan, and so my whole thought process is continue to act with a pure heart, and like what's supposed to happen is going to happen. So, you know, the Sharks thing wasn't supposed to happen, the football program wasn't supposed to happen. I was very blessed with that Stanford internship, not only in everything I learned from it, but the people I interacted with, and you know, some of those people now, some of those coaches I really consider true friends. And also one of the guys in particular has been so instrumental in my development, and goes out of his way to sit with me on like programming. We'll maybe talk about some programming stuff later, but using catapult GPS data and like all these crazy metrics you measure on soccer athletes, it's crazy. And that's all stuff he's taken out of his time, and he absolutely has his own stuff to worry about with his 3 teams. Doesn't have to come help me at all. And this is during the internship too, not now as a position where maybe you would expect somebody to be kinder and try to help you pick up. So, yeah, you know, the moments like that really show like, wow, this is for a reason, and the persistence aspect of it, you know, you just got to keep going, and what's meant to be for you will be for you. So yeah, I think, forget where I was going with that, but I think another thing I wanted to highlight that you were talking about earlier with, this is intentional, and you know, setting a positive example of myself to others about the human bias, that could easily go both ways. I think that's one thing I want to highlight is when you're putting yourself in that position, like of course always acting with a pure heart, but also you gotta be the person you want to become. So when I'm in there, when I was interning, my attitude wasn't, I'm an intern, I have limited responsibilities in here, and I'm just here to kind of have everybody else serve me and show me around and all that stuff, and it's your job to teach me. It was the opposite. It was, I'm an intern, I want to show that I'm capable and I'm eager and I want to be here, and the reason I'm here is because I would love to do what you do in the future. So in the meantime, I'm going to pretend within a scope of practice that I'm you, and I'm going to demonstrate my capability of doing what you do. And so, you know, all the optional things when a coach is going out to set up the field for a practice, right? I don't have to go to any of that, but I see him grabbing cones and a yardstick. I'm like, hey, can I go set up the field with you? And can I like watch you run over practice? Sure. I'm sure I was getting pretty annoying, like behind everybody all the time asking questions, but that type of attitude is, again, prior to the job opening up here, one of the coaches actually knows the director at UCLA, and there was a job opening there. And she messaged me the opportunity, and she's like, I know the director. I already put in a great word for you. I think you'd be an amazing fit here. Obviously, I can't guarantee you a job, but if go through the interview process, they already have a very strong reasoning to bring you in. So it's also that, right? Just that attitude. And when you're good to people, like generally people will want to do good things for you, And so obviously I'm married, and my wife lives here. I'm not going to move to LA. But just like even opportunities that arose prior to getting this, things kind of go well when you're acting in good faith. And so
Yeah, no, that's so amazing, and I'm so glad you highlighted all those points, because wherever you are, right? Kind of what I kept hearing. He didn't say this word, but service, serving, serving, and when you think about, we're gonna go out to eat after this, and what always makes a good meal great is that service that's provided. Them making you feel at home, them paying attention to you. I've had really good meals go south because of the horrible service. That I still remember those moments because of the horrible service. So what I do, I pretend I'm giving like the Disneyland deluxe treatment when I'm at work. And people mistake it for, being an amazing math teacher. It's like, no, this is someone who really cares, and that elevates everything. Mm-hmm. And so notice the opportunities that he was given, and that comes from that place of service. And I cannot stress that enough, because when you're going that extra mile that no one else is looking at, man, it just does something where I look at all the jobs that they've offered me that I was not qualified and am not qualified for, but they mistake me being able to do that because of my ability to serve people, right? And so I'm so glad Jordan highlighted that, because look at all these amazing opportunities that were landed his way because of that. So you're in this place, and I like thinking about my own experiences getting kicked out of school, all these hardships, having a family first, having a mortgage, kind of these things that make school very and pursuing a career very difficult.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you could share that were challenges? You could talk, whatever you like about them, that made it hard, and how did you overcome? And I know you're probably going to include this too, but these horrible, tough times help us in some weird way. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, that goes back to my faith as well. And so, go ahead, talk about.
Yeah, I think also sometimes when I talk about where I'm at, or the most recent job opportunities, things of that sort, people assume I've always known that I wanted to do health and fitness and related topics, and I've always been on my P's and Q's with everything, and that's certainly not the case. So I was in high school, we'll take it back to high school, an honors AP student all the way up until my senior year, and then my first tattoo, my Thea, she got diagnosed with breast cancer on my birthday. She called me. I thought she was going to sing me happy birthday, and then she's like crying that she has cancer, and it's actually, she got treated at Stanford. It was a rare, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was a rare form of breast cancer, so she was getting special service. And yeah, I kind of I forgot to submit my SATs, so all my college acceptances got revoked. And that's an instance of not displaying persistence back then, because an easy thing to do is write some whatever emails or long form papers to these universities explaining my situation, and with the hope of some leniency, I can still submit my SAT score to still earn my place in there, right? But it was the attitude of defeat and just not caring anymore, and kind of throwing my hands up and being, well, whatever. So that got all kind of put to the side. And then I'll never forget, I was sitting on the numbers my senior year of PE, stressed out about an AP paper that I didn't write or I wasn't finished with, I'm not sure yet. And one of the students next to me was like, well, you're just going to Cabrillo now, right? And I said, yeah. And he's, well, then why do you care? All you need is a D to graduate. And so, for some reason that flipped a switch in me, and the rest of my senior year was just down the drain, And so, one thing I want to talk about later is the importance of your circle and things of that sort, and the messages that are relayed to you. So it's just the fact that, prior to that, all my friends I'm in those AP classes with, and they're, stressed out and writing their papers, and that's the attitude that I'm generally absorbing. And, and then it just took one kid to say that to me, and, the rest of my senior year was gone. I went from all A's and B's to all D's and C's, So, yeah, that put me at a disadvantage. And then, coming into my first year of college, I ended up just dropping out and was just from 18 to 19 just partying and being dumb, making bad decisions, and fun at all these college parties, but not in college, so that was cool. And then I ended up getting in a car accident. Not under the influence or anything like that, just being an idiot and not paying attention. And I just felt really guilty that my mom was going to have to pay, higher on her insurance and some of that for me just being negligent. And so I told her I'm going to get a job, and, I'll pay the difference of whatever your insurance is, and it'll be like it never happened. So I ended up getting a job at Gold's Gym. And this is still prior to doing anything exercise related. I never really worked out in high school, or especially not after graduating. Again, about the importance of your circle. When I got hired to work at Gold's Gym, just as the desk scanner, I'm sure you remember me scanning it. Yeah. I was at that point, they were still hiring slightly older people. So everybody I was working with was around 23 to 27. And so as I'm making relationships with these people who are a little bit older than me, they're graduating college, they're finishing up their last month at Gold's before they start this new job that they have, they got their degree. And so that kind of set another fire into me, like, oh, I gotta figure out what I want to do. Around that time, again, I don't know if you know who Team George Fitness is. Yep. Shout out to George.
I was on his team.
So was I. So he's, I always credit him for really being a pivotal moment in my life, because he reached out to me about, just like through interaction, human to human, about coaching. And I was going to Hawaii for the first time with my family. And I had 12 weeks, and I told him I wanted to, I'd always been overweight, and I wanted to feel confident in myself being shirtless on the beach. And so, while body image and things of that sort is a whole other podcast we can sit down about maybe, in that time I did go from, I think I lost like 40 something pounds. And that was also my first, I think, real world life example of what perseverance could provide and sacrifice could provide. And so that, I feel like has played out in different ways much later in my life, where that was the first time where for 12 weeks I said, I'm going to just do absolutely whatever is necessary to get this outcome that I want. And yeah, just thinking back about it, like I feel the fire again in my chest. I don't think I had ever felt that determination towards something ever. And I think that's a very powerful tool to harness, is your, ability to say there is no other option. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to sacrifice whatever I can to accomplish it. It's kind of the same attitude I took with the internship and things of that sort. But anyways, in that time, again, going above and beyond, he tried to offer me cheat meals, and I was like, nah, I don't want them. I don't need them, right?
I took them.
Okay. When we got to that last month, I mean, this is a little excessive, but with the cardio component, right? I was, he didn't try to put me through this aggressive of it, but I was like, give me everything that I can do. Like, if I want to suffer more. And so, at the end of it, I was doing like an hour and a half of cardio, which is not healthy. And again, now as an exercise physiologist, I would never have somebody do that. But it's the mental component of I am going to, leave no inch uncovered. I'm going to go as far as I can with this. And so at the end of that, and that's also when I'm explaining this now, and I have smiles about it, and I'm getting all riled up about it. I don't want that to make it seem like that's what it feels like in the moment. In the moment, it was very much, I hate my life. I'm exhausted. This sucks. This is horrible, but I'm seeing also, as I feel terrible, a positive outcome every time I weigh in. And I'm like, okay, this is what it takes. And like, at the end of the day, what I want in the long term supersedes what I'm feeling in the short term. So I'm going to go for it. And so that is the attitude that I've taken on, that delayed gratification. So that has, continued throughout the duration of time. So anyways, I guess that's, I'll end up talking for 30 minutes if I travel through the whole life story, but that was like the first example of it. And then seeing how displaying some grit and perseverance could really pay off in the long run.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I forgot about all those times. That was such a great example. 'Cause, yeah, I too did about a 50-pound drop after high school.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And that those things that you learn, and this is what I try to tell, especially my athletes or people that overcome all these different areas, is all that stuff is transferable, right? Whatever you're trying to do, because school isn't easy, finding that job may not be easy, getting fired, getting dumped isn't easy, like all these things.
Yeah.
But how are you gonna bounce back? And I rather have the pain doing something good than just have that pain feeling sorry for myself and it's continuing to head in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And so who like was your circle? Because I love what you said earlier too about that one person could contaminate, right? Your thinking, just as the same way that you surrounding yourself and you working in that environment, seeing everybody else's goals really motivated you. And if you could talk more about maybe experience and like, because what I try to tell and help people do, because I think the more you kind of climb up the food chain, if you will, you stop doing that. And myself, I still have so many mentors in my life that I go and sometimes I run to right when I'm in a situation. And so when I'm in my classroom, the things I'm trying to do is if I see that one person who hasn't done that homework, what could happen is that person could start to have that, I want to say contamination, but that around the rest of the students around them. And they could totally change the culture of the classroom. And so I'm so vigilant in preventing that from happening. So who's your support network? Because getting that internship, every stage that you've been at, right? What have they done for you? How have they done it? Who have they been?
Yeah, it's dynamic. It's ever changing, right? So that very baseline example, it was George. It was the Gold's Gym crew. If any of them see this, Maritza, Brianna, Celeste, Weston, Parker. It was all of them, and seeing them progress in their life and what they've got going on made me want to do the same for myself. And then from there, obviously, as you're going out and having these new experiences, you interact with new people and things of that sort. So then it was Cal State Monterey Bay, and my professors there. And then it changed. I got a job locally, and then it was that group. And again, with the topic of how you absorb the culture of different things, right? So Gold's Gym, positive environment, everybody's progressing in their career. Cool, I want to do the same. CSUMB, obviously learning and now specific to exercise science. Cool, I want to do the same. I'm going to go get experience and work at this place. And then there, it became a little bit stagnant where I was like, well, you don't need to, continue your education if you're already making money and things of that sort, right? And then I dropped out of college. I got promoted to this role, and I really started in the strength world. It's called drinking the Kool-Aid. I started drinking the Kool-Aid, and I was like, okay, this is it for me. And just being careful of who your mentors are, because at that point in my life, I was very content with just staying there, and realistically, looking back on it, none of that was livable. I can't create a life with what I was doing, but I was kind of just lulled into complacency. And then the moment I said, hey, there's this thing that I want to do that is going to better myself in my future, it was problematic. And I was being threatened for it in certain ways, not physically, but it was just this isn't what it should feel like. If you have exciting news about something in your life, or you want to make this positive change, generally the people around you are going to be like, yeah, go for it. And in those other prior circles, that was the thing. So when I brought it up in this circle, and I literally had 3 meetings with 3 different people about why I shouldn't go back to school, which is absurd. You know, that was so much confirmation that like this is absolutely. And also listen to your mom if you're blessed to have your mom around. Like, what does your mom think of it? I tend to, you know, whenever my mom gives me advice, I'm like, don't, you know, just leave me alone, mom. And then I'll look back 6 months and be like, damn,
Yep,
I should listen to my mom first, you know. So, anyways, yeah, then it was okay. Well, I'm, you know, out of here and went back to school, and then I'm back in this positive pool again with CSUMB, finishing up my degree. And Dr. Maychek, I've credited him on Instagram with this multiple times already. But I just randomly popped into his office. I was walking past him and he calls me in, and he just asked me, you know, what I wanted to do with my life. And I was explaining what I was doing currently with online coaching and, you know, maybe want to get into strength conditioning, stuff like that. And as I'm talking to him, he has his degrees all over it, all the papers he's published, all the research papers and things of that sort. And I'm just like looking and I'm super impressed. And I said something about being impressed by it and all that. And he goes, oh, he's like, dude, you can do it too. Like, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. And just, you know, it wasn't this huge motivational speech. It also wasn't a big moment. Like, it was just one passive thing he said in the midst of a bigger conversation. But he planted that little seed. He said that one thing and it just hit me. And I remember sitting and looking at his certification, just kind of confused by the confidence he had in me and saying that I could do it. And I was like, I never thought about getting, you know, another higher, a master's degree in an exercise field, nor did I think I would be able to do it. But him saying that, I was like, I think I'm gonna go for it, you know. And then shortly after that, after I graduated, I applied for the master's program, and you know, obviously since then I have a master's in exercise physiology, and it's definitely because of him. One thing I told myself, be it from circles prior or whatever, was that school wasn't for me, or that I didn't like going to school. Which I guess to a certain extent held true. Like, I can't say that I always had fun reading 100 research papers on motor unit recruitment and you know, things of that sort. It's not the funnest thing to do, but the after effect of it definitely is, and the way it changes the way I look at human movement and coach things and program things. So obviously, again, it's worth it in the end. But yeah, like, those attitudes just changed because of the positive environment. So I guess last little pool here, jumping from CSUMB to San Jose State. I can't say I made any relationships there. I really was just a commuting student. I'd go to my 2 classes for 6 hours and then head out. But because of them, you know, I got the Stanford internship, and that's my current pool community with a bunch of exercise scientists, and they're geniuses, and they are, you know, really helpful. And so yeah, that's the current launch pad. We'll see what's next, but
Dang.
yeah.
That is so much to take away. I have found, you know, talk about a few things you said. So I don't know why, but as you were talking, it was bringing you back a lot to a lot of people who maybe was doubting themselves or these other things. So you have to be very careful, like you said, of who your team is. Because in anything that you do, like, for example, the people that I have working under me right now, my job is to get them working for themselves as soon as possible. Because one of my workers at Cal Poly has been with me forever. This person's so amazing that they could do what I'm doing and more. And that's my job, is to instill that in them and to give them the tools and resources, like, hey, you could do this, or you could do this, or you could do this, right? So if someone isn't pushing you and motivating you to grow, then that should be one of your kind of red flags that, you know what, for whatever reason, you know, they have their things going on, this isn't for me. Because you, and this is going back to truth, really, is you were made for a purpose, and you were made for so much more. And we continuously have to renew our minds wherever you're at. There's always something we could do. I don't want to say more to like outwork ourselves, but there's always something new and fun. And when you listen to Jordan, or if you're myself and I see his reels, right away what I could see is, number one, this guy's excited about this stuff. And half the time he's talking about shit I don't understand. Because it's so awesome. Like, he has like these cool, like it's events, like you could see the passion and you could see the knowledge, and that comes with time and effort, because I promise you, all that knowledge wasn't just magically like, oh, I understand this now.
No.
It took so much time, effort, and passion. So don't try to be like that other person. Figure out what's the thing, that passionate thing about you. So, for example, if you're into education or business, right, there's areas where you're the expert on, and don't try to put yourself in these other areas. And I see so many people that I talk to, and sometimes in my consulting, when I go and work with problematic areas, is people doing stuff that they're not shaped to do. And it could be, um, it could be administrators, it could be, you name it, but they're doing something that they're not shaped to do and they don't like to do. And so don't let other people speak into your life in terms of what you should do and do. You'll see it, you'll feel it, right? As he said, you know what, this place, I feel like something's wrong here, right? That's why we have God gave us a spirit to kind of to talk to us, and discernment. And so listen to yourself in those areas, and then surround yourself by wise people. And fortunately, Jordan had his mother that he should have listened to.
That's the whole life story right there.
Yes, same. I'll just make sure she doesn't watch this.
Yeah.
All right. So as we conclude, because I could talk to this guy all day, you know, we're talking to the student, and in your journey, you're looking back. What are some unique things and advice you could give? And some things I give, just to kind of give you a framework, is I usually have some questions they should have when they're getting new mentors. I'm not saying talk about mentorship, but that's like my unique thing is I have things I'm going to even talk to you later about that I commonly do. And these questions that I ask always take me on a wild ride.
Okay.
So like, I'll get random calls. So like last week's, my friend calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to come to this golf fundraiser tournament?" He's like, "I want to set you up with, I won't say this person's name, but someone's running for president this coming year, and the person handling all their finances and their like everything for that candidate is going to be in that group I want to set you up with." And so these opportunities that come up when you ask to be taken on a ride.
Yeah.
And so those random, crazy, cool things, happen to me because of these questions. So I give these questions. Just people ask when they're around cool people like yourself. So, what's something that you could think of that's helped you kind of on your journey and get to this really awesome, life-changing place?
Yeah, I think I've kind of been hammered on the head the whole talk, which is just the aspect of humility and removal from ego. It's being willing to say, I don't know. I think that's a huge thing in my internship that I got credited for that I didn't think was a big deal, but that continued to get highlighted. There was one time in the very beginning where we had a program, a sample 8-week thing for a certain team, and then you had to take in consideration the time of year they're in and all these different things, right? So I tried utilizing what now is very easy for me to interpret is called VBT, velocity-based training. So you have these things called linear transducers. They put it on the edge of a barbell or a piece of equipment, and you have a mat under it, and it tracks the speed of it, right? So you can train different physiological qualities based upon the amount of speed that the bar is going through, generally, because the slower you are, the heavier the load is. So anyways, we can talk about that later. But point is, it was my first time. I had been seeing it for like 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, I'm going to show them how cool I am and like throw it in the program and all this stuff. So I programmed numerics on barbell speeds and things of that sort for these certain lifts, and I present it to the coaches. And I'm over here thinking they're going to be like, wow, Jordan, you're so brilliant. Wow, I can't believe you're an intern or whatever, right? My Jenny Tripler, she's the one who brought me in. She's the one who coordinates all the intern stuff, right? She's by far the nicest to me because, she's like the one who took me in. I just remember she's looking at it and she goes, another one of the coaches, "Rob, come over here." And then he comes over. She's like, "When have you ever seen this be done at this fast?" And the guy goes, "You would like fall on your head. Like it's not possible to do that. You'll leave the ground. And then so in that moment, I go, yeah, honestly, this is just new to me, and I was trying to impress you guys. Like, I don't understand it enough to be programming it. And then in the moment, their Jenny just stops, and she's like, I really appreciate you saying that. And she's like, and that's going to go a long way in your growth. Like, I forgot what she said, but anyways, and then later on in other instances with other interns, I would see a mistake like that get made. And then just again, it's the protection of ego, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to look like a novice or anything. Even though like we're interns, we're supposed to make these mistakes and be dorks,
Yep.
But it was no, I need to present myself as I'm super cool and I have all the answers. So then uninherently you're making it worse because now you're doubling down on something that you're, definitely wrong about. And then I saw what she was talking about, where it was like there was no conflict. I'm entering this space with the understanding that I'm here to learn and here to grow, and with that I probably don't have all the answers. So if you feel very strongly about something and it's genuine and it is a little bit more I guess nuanced or opinionated, then sure, you can argue your case. But like in an instance like that, I know I'm out of my element and I'm here to learn about things like that. Okay, yeah, cool. Honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. And then guess what? For the next 20 minutes, we're looking at charts and explaining the different things, and like they're sitting down with me and helping and correcting it. I think that's the other big piece is taking those moments of humility and then acting on them, right? There's another case where we're doing force plate testing. This is a bad one. So you have these two things called force plates. Athletes can stand on them, and they obviously put force into them, right? So they'll do a jump, or you can do a squat on it. You can do a bunch of different things on it. Anyways, it'll measure. There's like 100 different metrics, but let's just, for the case of this one, we're measuring jump height. So they jump on the thing. There's a timer. It times how long it took them to leave the ground and then make contact, and it'll give you an estimate of their actual height that they jumped, right? So you do that a lot for like fatigue assessment. And when you're more tired, you're going to jump lower. So when you're testing guys or girls after every single session, you can start to see trends and like things that sort. So anyways, I I took in all the data, jumped like 30 athletes, and then the whole time I had it on the wrong setting. So it said that they were doing this thing that is a completely different movement than what they were actually doing. So it washes all their data, right? So I don't realize until like the last person, and then I look and I was like, oh my God, it's on the wrong setting. And then I saved it just to be safe, to conserve it. And then I called over the coach, and he goes, okay. He's like, well, you didn't upload it yet, right? And I had. And he goes, oh, mother, right? And then I was like, oh, what happened? So then he's like, well, now you have to go in the main hub, and you have to individually change each one. And it's going to take, like, this 2-minute fix is now 30 minutes, right? So again, ego, things that sort. I could get butthurt about it and then want to run away from it, or whatever the case may be. My automatic opportunity to grow is from there. So it's like, okay, this sucks that I did this, but also let me correct it, right? So this is the guy that for the part-time role actually ended up hiring me. And again, it's because moments like this, right? And he credited that to me in the interview process during this. He called back this moment, right? It's forever stained in my brain, but I was very happy it stayed with him too. Because after that error, I walk up to him in his office and I said, can you please, I'll do it on your computer, or can you give me the login info and I will go in and change all of this, just show me how to do it. And then so he showed me how to do the first one, gave me the login info. I go back to my little intern corner. We just sat in the corner of the turf there, and that was our space. And for the next 45 minutes with the worst posture ever, I'm fixing stuff, right? And then I fixed all the data, and it was like it never happened. And it was the same attitude with the car accident, and let me get a job and pay for this, and it's like it never happened. It's the same thing. Let me learn everything and fix it for you, so it's like it never happened. It's taking ownership of mistakes and going from there. Yeah, the last minute caught up on that one. So anyways, podcast talk part 2 with about ownership.
As you say that, I'm looking for one of the books. It's called Extreme Ownership.
I have that book.
And man, those are some fire piece of advice, and I think it's the most underutilized piece of advice, because I see it everywhere at all levels, and I think of the younger Johnny, and I think of me, and that's the thing that's changed the most, where I love going into spaces and be like, oh, you know what? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what that language is. Like, break it down. And then later, there's always people, oh, thanks. Like, I had no idea what they're talking about either.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because it's just like being a student. No one raises their hand, but yet everyone's lost.
Right. Yeah.
And so, oh man, that's money right there. Well, Mathletes, I want to thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's been awesome. And again, as you, whoever you are, you look at this or listen, there's always lessons to be learned, and it goes back to humility. And that's what true leadership is um, people calling in other people, and we're designed and we're meant to not carry everything ourselves. And the best leaders know how to utilize all the talents of the people around them. And so my gifts are going to be different than his gifts are going to be different than this person's gift, but together, um, that's how we build championships. And so, cool. I'm going to definitely rewatch this many times because, again, I do this for selfish reasons because I have a lot of goals. I have, you know, uh, my wife and I did the blessing of raising our two older kids, and now we have two younger kids that, I want them to see me continue this growing until my time is up. And it's exciting ride. But the best question I continue to ask is why and how, and I want to learn. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time. Peace.